Hello everyone, I am Nirvana Sparkle. Welcome to Caddick Reviews. Well, what was going to be a review about Metal Gear Solid 5, which that's what this is, has become some more of a philosophical question. A question that I had to ask myself as I was torturing myself on Twitch playing the game for a combined time of about 3 hours before ultimately realizing the game isn't for me, is it? Not only is it not for me, it shouldn't be for anyone who truly plays video games for fun or for any kind of respectable challenge. The question that Metal Gear Solid 5 had me posing was one that I think most video gamers ignore on the grand scheme of things. And the question is simply this: what is a video game? By definition, it's, well, an act of technology used as an interactive art form, usually consisting in actions to induce fun using a controller. That would be the technical definition of a video game. But if you ask anybody of any type, they'll give you a different definition of what a video game is, and depending on how old they are, that definition can even further vary. For me, it is any game that is challenging, yes, but fun. But most importantly, it is a test of skill. Metal Gear Solid 5 is none of these things by my definition of a video game. It is not even close to the definition of what a true video game is. Mario is a true video game. Mega Man is a true video game. Even more recent titles like Mass Effect or Ratchet & Clank, and even to some aspects, even difficult games like Bloodborne are video games to some extent. But Metal Gear Solid 5 is none of these things. What Metal Gear Solid 5 is, however, is one creator, Hideo Kojima's narcissistic love letter to his own twisted mind. It is a window into Kojima's soul, a soul that has been battered through the expectation of being eccentric, of being different. After all these years, 26 to be exact, he has finally allowed the lunacy of his own mind to take control of his bodily function. Therein lies a grossly miswritten, grossly mismanaged, grossly misleading, and grossly mishyped video game. Again, I only played the game for 3 hours before losing my patience, and even I called it quits. Not because the game was so destiny bad that I couldn't take it anymore. It was because I had my fill of getting my ass repeatedly handed to me, killed repeatedly for making simple mistakes, the super AI in their line of vision, the day-night mechanic not exactly working as other stealth games in the genre would demand, the lack of a good and cohesive tutorial or any ease of difficulty. You see, In Metal Gear Solid 5, there are not difficulty spikes. There are not difficulty levels. There is difficulty in the sense of you, the player, which, if you're a casual gamer or a gamer that doesn't play games like Metal Gear, like myself, and let me say in the honor of full disclosure, I have never been nor never will be a Metal Gear Solid fan. Nor am I a fan of Hideo Kojima as a creator as well. I only like one of his games, and that's Zone of the Enders. All the other ones, I can really give a damn less, and the only Metal Gear Solid game that I even had the will and the fun enough to complete was Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, made by Platinum Games, a game company that understands fun and ease of use and immersion. You see, the game falsifies immersion by having a world that is slightly living and breathing. It falsifies immersion by making things unnecessarily difficult, making you have to build things through Mother Base and through a Fulton recovery system. The system introduced in Peace Walker a long time ago. But unfortunately, the Fulton recovery system is the game's most back-breaking notion, seeing that anybody with actual patience, and by the way, if you've beaten this game or even gotten nearly close to it, your amount of patience is commendable. But for regular human beings like myself, my patience wore thin. Right from the 30-minute over-enthusiastic intro sequence to the time that I technically stopped playing the game. None of it was fulfilling, none of it was fun, none of it felt enjoyable. It felt like busy work at first, but then once the sledgehammer started to swing, it felt like the game was openly, without fail and without fault, and without any mercy whatsoever, telling me you should not be playing this game. Sure, I don't mind it when games choose not to hold hands. In fact, I would rather prefer it. But, you see, for me, if you are going to do this, then the difficulty must inherently be scaled. For gamers to truly enjoy games, there must be a sense of accomplishment, a sense of improvement, not a sense of allotment or survival. A lot of the choices that I could clearly see in my short time with Metal Gear Solid 5 were choices of length, choices of isolationism, choices of an elite club that you must be worthy enough to enter. The perfectionist level it takes to play Metal Gear Solid 5, even at its earliest levels, are beyond the levels of comprehension or understanding. They are beyond the levels of fun. They are beyond what constitutes a video game. They are beyond logic, much like the story, which, unless you have played Metal Gear Solid previous, you will not understand. You will not comprehend. You will not immerse yourself. The game has failed at its primary goal. But not only that, it has failed at, to me, is one of the commandments of video games. It has failed at being fun. It has failed at being engrossing. It has failed at being understanding. It has failed at helping the player grow. Great video games over time have proven escalating difficulty and escalating challenge to make a gamer unknowledgeable of its mechanics and how it works into somebody that is a true master. Metal Gear Solid 5 fails at this in every conceivable level. Not because it has the mechanics and doesn't know how to use them. It fails because it doesn't have the mechanic at all. It does not care. It doesn't care how many years of video games that you have played. It does not care how many better games like Splinter Cell have come in its wake. It doesn't care the amount of attention of detail you want to give. It doesn't care the planning that it takes to assault a base. It doesn't care what doable AI, what successful choice is. It doesn't care that you exist. Instead, it wants you to bow at the altar of its supposed greatness. It wants you to submit to its difficulty, submit to its rules of perfection, and submit to its requirements. It is much like a government official. It is much like going to the bunny ranch and getting in black leather. It wants you to submit. It wants you to surrender. It does not ask for immersion. It almost practically demands it. And that's the game's greatest flaw. It demands too much of me as a gamer, as me as a man. It demands too much of the casual gamer, the gamer that is not educated on toughness, but educated on reliability and fun, replayability, and short-term memory. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a game of not only a forgotten age, but an age that should never come. An age where video games become too demanding, too asking of the player, even before you begin to understand it, to buy into it, when given no information or no purpose how. It's asking you to go on a quest without a map. It's asking you to begin the journey of 1,000 steps without a destination. But most importantly, it is asking, what is a video game to you? Is a video game about challenge? Is a video game about difficulty? Is a video game about immersion? Or is a video game about fun, relatability, memories, things that you can take with you for a lifetime, the growing need of accomplishment, or the always growing checklist of things that you have to do in order for the fun to start. I could not finish Metal Gear Solid 5 because in truth I could never start it. The game never allowed me to. The game, practically through its own mechanics, overplayed and overpowered, could not allow me to start. So, in essence, I started thinking, what is a video game? And I have come to the conclusion now that Metal Gear Solid 5 isn't a video game. It is a torture device, meant to test the old, to ask the question, and meant to frustrate the young and unprepared. It is not meant even for the Metal Gear hardcore. It is not meant for the stealth lifer. It is meant for the eccentric. The person with more patience than brain power. With more resolve than intelligence. It goes beyond the rhetoric that I did not see, the convoluted story that I did not experience, the controversy that reeks of this game's creation, execution, and ultimately its finish. It's not about quiet and how she looks. It's not about the many choices you can make, although the freedom of choice is further a reason why it's not a video game. It is a testament of one's resolve. It is a testament of one video gamer's moral code. And for this video gamer, my moral code will not be sacrificed to put a game that does not deserve any of its Game of the Year rhetoric. It does not deserve the attention it gets. It does not deserve the copies that it has earned. Because it is not a video game. It is a reward for a man that has been unable to create anything worthwhile, anything wondrous, anything truly memorable. The scores that the game has been given is a reward for a man who's just crazy enough to believe that other people believe as he does. And there are millions that do. But I am not a crazy person. I am not a submissive. I am a human being. A human being, albeit with limitations. To me, video games are a fantasy. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a nightmare, a fantasy I'd rather escape, a fantasy that I would rather wholeheartedly recommend that you don't allow to dream. Sometimes being eccentric can be a good thing, but sometimes it's being eccentric that makes you disconnected from the rest of us, from the ones of logic. What is a video game? A video game should always be, even at its most real, the ability to create your own fantasy. Instead, what Metal Gear Solid 5 is the ability to create not your fantasy, not your power trip, but rather Hideo Kojima's. He didn't bother doing the work to help you, but he is asking everything of you to help his fantasy come true. Don't be a submissive. Choose something otherwise. A 3 out of 10. And that is how I honestly feel about it. And thank you, Hideo Kojima. Thank you for making me understand what a real video game is. It's just too bad it isn't your viewpoint on what a video game is. Or Konami's. Find peace in your own nirvana. And thanks for watching.